Right. Well, since we're early in the show,
yes,
and I always make these promises, I'm just going to do it now.
All right.
Let's do Indian Tales.
All right, let's do that.
Let's do some Indian Tales. I know Jack will be creaming himself, so
awesome.
And actually, I want Jackal to call the show, 800-497-5891. I have a question for him.
Okay.
800-497-5891. So call us up, Jackal, and I'm going to play the bumper here for Indian Tales.
All right.
Wendell, this is your boss, your employer. I command you to come back to work. The Penske files are piling up on your desk, and your TPS reports are overdue. I will forgive your absence because you are a radio jockey, but you must kiss all 4 arms of Ganesha and bring me 1 pound of curry as penalty. I will expect your service Monday morning. Do not disappoint me, Wendell.
I always love that.
It is funny.
So anyway, Indian Tales.
Yes.
A coworker that I currently work with.
Okay.
I got a phone call here. I think this is Jackal. Hail and kill, caller. You're on the air.
Hail and kill, boys. It's Jackal.
Jackal, I just have one question for you.
What's up?
You often, if not weekly, type in the chat room, Indian Tales. What is it about this segment that you love so much?
I think that one of the first segments you did was so cool about it. The one with what was it called, Muted Mondays?
Yes.
Yeah, I keep hoping you tell more personal Indian stories than just some of the ones lately that have just been kind of like in the news.
Well,
you know, like
I actually have a real story tonight for you. So yeah,
I'm all in for that, brother.
But what is it about Indian Tales that you like so much?
I don't know. I think they're just funny. I mean, that Muted Monday was classic, dude. That was fucking awesome.
Okay.
I loved it.
All right.
I go back and listen to that all the time because I thought it was so funny.
Are you going to be stepping up to the co-host chair in November?
Probably not. That's this weekend I'm working.
See,
it wasn't that like the 28th or something?
Yeah, the 28th. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm working that weekend. I'll double check my calendar and I'll let Chris know. But
how do you know if you're working that far in advance?
Well, I work every third weekend.
Okay.
And I kind of got it figured up on I figured up on the calendar and see when the hell I'm working, and I think I'm working that weekend.
All right. Well, don't jump on Chris and act all butthurt if you're not the co-host that weekend.
No, I won't. I mean, since I got this job, the times are a little screwed up. I really don't. I hate working weekends, especially Sundays with fucking football going on now. We have it rigged up so we can watch the games through the computer now, but still.
Sure. So I haven't heard much about this. I know this is veering off, but so how's the new relationship going? I mean, is that working out for you?
Oh, no, that's been over.
Really?
Oh, yeah, that was over, after about 6 months.
Really?
See that, Jackal? I don't share anybody's personal information.
See, I was not aware of that. Is that anything you can tell us a little bit about?
Well, it was just, it was kind of one of those stories, you don't know a person till you live with them.
Okay.
And it just didn't work out, and we just went our separate ways.
Yeah, apparently. Did she go back to Florida or wherever the hell she lived?
I think so.
You think so? I mean, it's that bad to where you don't even know where she went?
I haven't talked to her in quite a while.
Boy, that's an acrimonious split.
Yeah, it wasn't, it was just one of those things.
Holy shit. It's so bad you don't even know where she went.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure she's back in Florida, but, God knows.
So without getting too personal, what was the real deal breaker there?
I don't know. We just found out we didn't have as much in common as we thought. Turned out it was just some good fuckings every time she came up to Ohio the first 3 years or 4 years.
That's all it is. That's all it will ever be, Jackal. A guy your age, you should know that by now.
I'm getting to be like Chris, man. I think I'm just going to go for hookers and be done with it. I have no interest. It's been close to a year, and I have no interest in getting in another relationship.
Going in separate ways.
Yeah.
Well, I was not aware of that, and I'm not going to say, geez, man, I'm sorry to hear that, because really I'm not.
Well, you guys warned me.
We did.
Yes, you did. I'll admit that. You did warn me.
Wow.
So,
interesting.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, though.
All right, excellent. All right, well, we're going to get into some Indian tales, and I will tell a personal Indian tale story here, and then I will follow it up with some other ones that are in the news.
Awesome. Hail and kill, boys.
Hail and kill.
Fuck you, pal, and fuck Taylor.
I was not aware that did not work out.
I was very aware of this, and I just never brought it up.
Oh, yeah, you live local. I mean, you see him and talk to him and stuff. I don't.
But that I didn't find out from him directly. Let me tell you a story.
Okay.
Now that it's out there, I can sort of tell this story. So you remember earlier in the year, I was doing some legal stuff with my house.
Right.
Remember that?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Well, when I first started doing the legal stuff with my house, out of the blue, I got an email from the assistant of the law firm.
Okay.
That was handling my legal shit.
Sure.
And the person asked me if they could call me.
Okay.
And I was like, sure. And it was Jackal's chick.
Okay.
Who just happened by as coincidence as it could be to A, work at that law firm, and B, be assigned as the assistant working on my house.
Okay.
So I was working with her back and forth. And I was, there was some interaction that had to be done back and forth as far as, certain payments that had to be made and, forms I had to fill out and submit and, the legal process.
Yeah, gotcha.
So at one point I didn't hear from her anymore. And I sent a couple of emails and didn't hear from her anymore. And then finally I called the law firm and I said, yeah, I haven't heard from so-and-so in 4 or 5 weeks. Whatever. And they're like, oh, well, she no longer works here. You've got a new caseworker. It's blah, 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 blah. Whoever it is.
Yeah, right.
So out of the blue, I hit up Bill Peters, and I said, hey, is something going on with Jackal and his chick?
Right.
And Bill was like, ask him.
All right.
And I was like, that bad, huh? And he was like, not saying anything, just ask him.
Okay.
And then I heard what happened. I was
wow.
I was like, oh boy, that fucking stinks.
Wow.
Because I know he was into that chick for a minute. But
for a minute.
Well, for a little while. He was with her 5 or 6 months or something.
For a little while, 5 or 6 months.
Is that a long time?
No, that's not hardly a...
That's a minute.
That's a flash in the pan.
Yeah, that's a minute.
Wow.
But it was just weird how it really was... how I ended up in the middle... I mean, not in the middle of it, but, dealing with this person.
Sure.
As a friend of Jackal, and then all of a sudden it was like, oof.
So
all of a sudden I was hoping my house wasn't going to get fucked up over.
So she was aware of who you were?
Yes.
And she knew about the show and everything?
Yes.
Huh.
Yeah. She was well aware of me and what I do.
Okay.
And the whole thing was really kind of weird, but
yeah, to say the least.
And then I don't want to be Chris from the Classic Metal Show when I'm dealing with an attorney.
Right.
That's that's not fucking real helpful. But yeah, but that's what went on. So, little fun story for you.
Yeah, I guess. That whole relationship stuff.
Hookers, baby. I'm telling you. Once Taylor shows you the crazy, just go right with me to the hookers.
I'm not worried about Taylor.
Yeah, well, why would you be?
Not worried about her.
Well, why would you be at this point? But she will show her crazy.
Well, let's just put it this way. Since July,
yeah,
haven't seen it yet.
Oh, it's coming. I'm not even going to hear this, though. Well, she's the one that's different.
I'm not saying that. I didn't say that. I just said I haven't seen it.
That vagina makes it a fucking... I honestly believe the vagina is like an extra quadrant of the brain. And fucking, when the brain generally functions normally, the blood flows back and forth and the electronic, neurotic pulses or whatever work in your brain. But every once in a while, that shock starts to hit that pussy. And when it does, that's when they go all fucking batshit crazy. And it's coming. It's coming. If anything, she's got a fucking mental block that hasn't quite... Her pussy's not fucking talking to her brain yet. But it will.
All right.
You're not denying.
Again, I can't confirm nor deny.
Yeah. Not yet.
Can't confirm nor deny.
Well, right now you can deny, but eventually
I'm not denying anything. All I'm saying is that I'm not worried about Taylor.
I don't blame you. I wouldn't be worried either.
She's a girl. She's definitely a different one. That's for sure.
She's fun. She's a sweetheart. I mean, I don't know her 1/10 as much as you do. She's definitely a sweetheart from the one time I met her.
Yes.
And I'd still be scared to death of her fucking insanity.
Yeah. Well, let's just put it this way. Her ability, her rational ability is unparalleled to anything that I've experienced before.
But that'll fade.
I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying she's just a very, very intelligent girl. Very intelligent.
She's the perfect one.
I didn't say that.
She's the best.
I just said she's just very intelligent. That's all I said. That's all I said.
She's what every girl should be.
No, I didn't say that either. All I said, she's just very smart.
She's not what every girl should be.
She possesses rational thinking, at least what I've experienced. That's all I can tell you.
I'm sure she does. Not arguing the point. I'm really not. Hey, nothing to make me happier than if you two live this nice, happy life forever. Because God knows, I sort of like happy Neeley better than fucking unhappy Neeley.
Right.
You're definitely grouchy when you're not on the show, but in real life, you're definitely grouchy when these chicks are fucking cunts. You definitely are fucking. You know what you're like? You're kind of like Gene Simmons in an interview when you've got one of these chicks going fucking batshit crazy on you.
Right.
Like that last chick. You would call when you were going through all that shit with the last one.
Right.
You would call and I'd be, hey, what's up? And then I would just fucking stand there and hold the phone. So I didn't have to say shit. Because you'd be like, you're not going to believe what she fucking did.
Right.
And what the fuck is wrong with her? How can she not know that this guy's a piece of fucking garbage? And,
yeah.
And it was like, yeah.
Yeah.
I get it.
Sure.
You turn into grumpy Neeley for a minute, but that's okay. I haven't heard that. I like happy Neeley.
Right.
Nothing wrong with that.
I will just say that 2015 has been a very good year.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
It's been a good year.
I'd imagine. Cut the number in half. You can't figure out which age she is.
I'm not specifically talking about that, but
no, you've had a good year.
I've had a good year. From a professional standpoint, the show is doing good. Yeah. On a personal level, things have been good. So yeah, this has been a good year. And
usually the odd years are bad, aren't they? Isn't the odd, or is it the even years that usually?
It's hard to say.
I got to figure that out because God knows I hope I'm not coming into a fucking year in 2 months.
Well, let's just put it this way: this has been a good year compared to the last 5.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I would say what you were doing before this is woof.
Yes.
Good God.
Well, speaking of what I was doing before this leads into Indian Tales.
Yeah, let's go.
And we were talking about something I said at the beginning of the show.
Yes.
About New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, I based it. We were talking about, me being in Dallas and being at the book depository where Kennedy was shot.
Right.
Well, I had to go do some, do some business for the former company I worked for.
Right.
And it took me to Dallas, Texas.
Right.
So I had to leave to go to Dallas, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a rental car.
Okay.
And I was leaving out on Sunday and driving to Dallas. And I had to be there by late Monday afternoon. So I figured, okay, I'll leave here on Sunday. I'll drive through the night because driving at night for me is much better just because of traffic and whatnot.
Right. Okay.
And so I went and I got the rental car. Mm-hmm. And I went to gas it up.
Yeah.
And I had a company credit card.
Okay. Oh, no.
Okay.
All right.
So I went to use the company credit card, and it was declined.
Oh. For $1.
Well, I went to use it to gas the car up.
Yeah, which means you put it in the machine, right?
Yes.
The pump?
Yeah, the pump.
Which then charges $1 to make sure that the card is valid.
No, well, I don't know that.
That's how it works.
I've never had that.
It doesn't charge you. I mean, and then you pump your gas. What I know this from when I worked in the credit card business. When you run it at a gas pump, it validates against $1.
See, I'm not aware of that.
And then when it fully processes, it processes the total amount.
Okay,
but in order to make sure that the card is a valid card, it tries to charge $1 on the spot.
Okay, well, again, I'm not aware of that. That's something.
So there was not $1 available on the company credit card.
Right. So I run this card, and it kept declining.
Right.
So I have to call my boss.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, listen, I'm ready to take off. I got to go to Dallas. I'm ready to take off for Dallas. I tried to gas up the car.
Yeah.
And my credit card keeps getting declined. Now, mind you, this credit card, I would have to use it for the hotel room.
Right.
I would have to use it for gas.
Right.
And food and travel expenses and whatnot. And I was sure as fuck was not going to pay for that out of my pocket.
Fuck no, because you don't know that you're going to get it back.
Exactly. So I call my boss, and he and his family are out doing shit.
Okay.
And he's like, well, you need to call my sister-in-law who owned the business.
Right, and she was the one that was the bitch about the paper.
Exactly.
Okay.
Who's printing? So I call her, and I said to her, I told her what the deal was, and she said, well, she needed to call the credit card company and figure it out.
Okay.
I don't know what the problem was, but for whatever reason, it just wasn't working. I know what it was right. That they had one credit card account,
right,
and had issued several cards, on that same account, even though it had different names. That was all drawn off the same line of credit.
Okay.
And they paid their bills using the credit card in order to get the miles. Yes, exactly.
So that they could fly back and forth to India.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. Absolutely true. So whatever bills that they had for the company,
right,
they would pay them with the credit card.
Okay, the same card that all the sales guys were supposed to use to pay for everything.
Exactly. So it was basically the reason my card didn't work was that the limit was maxed.
Right.
For the whole account.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So she's calling the credit card company to see if she can extend the limit.
Okay.
And so I'm getting ready to leave for Dallas, and I'm thinking to myself, there's no way I am pulling out from home and heading out to Dallas without a credit card that works.
I don't blame you.
So this delayed my trip like 2 or 3 hours.
Right.
So, I'm calling her, and I kept getting this, well, it should work now. And every time I went to use it again, it got declined. It's just like it's still not working.
Okay.
So I called again, and this time her husband answered the phone, which was the owner of all the companies.
Okay.
And I told him what was going on, and he says, well, you have a credit card, don't you? And I said, yeah. And he goes, well, why don't you just use that, and we'll just reimburse you?
Yeah, no.
And I was just like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
You know, if your credit card doesn't work, this trip is off. It's not happening.
Right.
You know? So what he did is he told me that they had a regional office in Dallas, which they did. I knew that.
Mm-hmm.
That when I got to Dallas, that they would have their guy in Dallas, their I don't know what he was, their manager or whatever, at their Dallas office.
Okay.
He would meet me at the hotel and bring me cash. Cash.
But a hotel isn't going to take cash,
Well,
are
no,
they?
it wasn't for the hotel. He was going to pay for the hotel, but give me cash.
Oh, for you gas in your car.
For gas and food and all this other stuff.
Okay.
So I drove. I left the house late on Sunday. It must have been like 4:00 in the afternoon. I was going to leave at noon.
Put 60 in the tank.
And I took off.
Right.
And I drove through the evening into the night, and I got as far as Little Rock, Arkansas.
Okay.
Now, mind you, I left on Sunday.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to get to Dallas until Monday.
Okay.
But I slept in the car for a couple of hours.
Because you couldn't use the car.
Exactly.
Jesus Christ.
Exactly. So I drove all the way to Little Rock, Arkansas, and by that time it was probably like 4:00 in the morning.
Right.
And I'm just like, I'm pretty toast at this point.
Right.
So I went and found a truck stop and pulled in there and just car had reclining seats and everything. So I just reclined the seat and went to sleep for, a couple hours.
Okay.
Until the sun came up.
Right.
And then, I hit the road again and drove on into Dallas and got there, I don't know, around noon or 1.
Right.
And this was a trade show. And the reason I drove, and here's the other thing. And I got pulled over by a Texas trooper.
Right.
Now, this car had Illinois license plates on it.
Sure.
And this Texas trooper was sitting up on an on-ramp.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw him sitting there, and I had my cruise control set, and the speed limit was 70.
Yeah.
And I think my cruise control was set at like 72.
Okay.
Well, this trooper pulls off this ramp and gets in behind me and follows me and pulls me over.
Right.
Just pulls me over.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, I'm just thinking, oh, boy, what's the deal here?
Right.
And he comes up to the car, and he, of course, the whole, the reason I pulled you over is I clocked you at 72. I said, you pulled me over for 2 miles an hour over. He goes, well, this is a no tolerance state.
Yeah, sure.
He says, we don't have any tolerance here.
Sure you don't.
Well, see, there you go. See, Jackal one's got it right about Neeley running drugs. Well, that was the whole deal.
Right.
Is that I was from Illinois, or I had an Illinois plate, and he was shaking me down.
Right, to see if you were bringing coke back and forth.
Yeah. So, and then he starts asking me, where are you coming from? Told him what I was doing. Where are you going? Going into Dallas. What are you doing there?
Yeah.
Going to a trade show. Where are you staying?
Yeah.
And told him the name of the hotel.
Right.
How long are you going to be in Texas? He asked me.
Till I'm out.
And he goes, well, where are you going from there? And how long are you going to be in all these questions.
Right, sure.
And I knew what it was.
Right.
But unlike certain people in this country who are adverse to law enforcement prying in their business.
Right.
Or should I say it, all up in their grill.
Hey, easy.
I answered the guy respectfully. I told him where I was going.
Right.
What I was doing. Then he said, well, that's a long way to drive. Now, mind you, being I was going to a trade show, I had, a lot of display stuff in the back.
Right.
Like banners and crap like that, and product.
Yeah, so he could see that you weren't just fucking.
He did, and he looked.
I'm sure.
And he says, well, that's kind of a long way to drive. Why didn't your employer fly you down here? I said, you don't know my employers.
Nice.
I said, besides, I got all this trade show stuff with me. I'm taking it with me.
Right.
And then he's just like, okay. And he gave me my license back and told me to be on my way.
Nice.
Didn't ticket me nothing.
Well, that's good.
But it was the license plate.
Right. They saw it. I've said this before on the show. That's why I don't drink or speed in Pittsburgh.
Right.
I got a foreign plate.
Sure. So I knew he was shaking me down for drugs,
Mm-hmm.
Seeing what I was doing. So anyway, I get to the hotel and I call my office and say, hey, I'm here at the hotel. What do we do now? Yeah. And they said, our guy is coming over. He'll meet you there. He'll check you in, pay for the hotel, and give you cash.
Okay.
And he did.
Well, at least that worked.
Yeah, that did work out. So they did, the guy ran, the hotel on whatever credit card he was using.
Right.
And he gave me $200 in cash.
Right.
So this is Monday. So here I've already spent a day and a half without accommodations.
Right.
So there's one night that I'm gone and did not have a hotel room.
Right.
So I get to Dallas, check in the hotel on Monday. Mm-hmm. The trade show is on Tuesday and part of Wednesday.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm in the hotel on Monday night and Tuesday night.
Yep.
Check out on Tuesday.
On Wednesday.
Or Wednesday morning, rather. Exactly. Right. Go to the trade show. Leave the trade show at noon. Then I go to the Kennedy shooting.
Okay.
And, go check out the museum and whatnot. Then I had to drive east of Houston.
Okay. Wow.
That was like about a almost 7-hour drive.
Okay.
I had to go to a town called Bridge City.
Okay.
Because we had a project there that needed, somebody to come down and look at it. But anyway, I drove all the way down there. Mm-hmm. Got into Bridge City Wednesday night.
Yeah.
Checked into a hotel Wednesday night. Went to Bridge City plant on Thursday morning.
Right.
Did what I had to do there. Then I had to go over to Gary, Louisiana.
Okay.
Went there, stopped there, saw a client there. Then I had to go to, I think it's called Kennesaw, which is right outside of New Orleans.
Okay.
Stopped there, dealt with, with a client there.
Okay.
Then I drove all the way home.
Wow.
And I got home Friday morning at like 4 a.m.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
So mind you, I left the hotel Thursday morning. I did all that driving. I literally drove 1,500 miles.
Oof.
But the gas was $180.
Okay.
Over that 24-hour period.
Sure.
So when I turned in my expense report, it showed basically 2 nights in a hotel, 3 nights in a hotel. I was gone for 5 days. I was gone Sunday to Monday, Monday to Tuesday, Tuesday to Wednesday, Wednesday to Thursday, and Thursday to Friday.
Right.
I was gone for 5 days and had 3 nights of hotel. Okay?
Right.
When I turned in my expense report, rather than see that I was gone for 5 days and 3 nights of hotel, all I heard about was why I spent $180 in gas.
You got to be fucking kidding me.
I'm not kidding you.
Where did they think you wasted it?
Well, it's how come so much for gas? How come so much for gas? Well, this expense report I turned in got returned to me 3 times with a note on it about why so much for gas.
And what'd you do? Just turn it back in and say, because that's what it fucking costs.
That's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I did. It's just like, if you notice, I was gone for 5 days, 3 nights of hotel, and $180 in gas.
Yeah, be happy.
You got away cheap.
Very cheap. That should have been another fucking $200 in hotel.
Well, see, here's the other thing.
Yeah.
They had a limit on hotel expense.
Yeah.
You weren't allowed to spend more than $60 a night.
$60 a night? Where the fuck would you stay?
Well, you were supposed to find a hotel that charged $60 or less, and that included tax.
Dude, Motel 6 is $60. More than that.
Well, it depends on where you go, but yes, you're correct.
You know, I mean, because I know when we went to Rock on the Range, we stayed at a Motel 6. It was like $89 a night.
$60 is the limit.
Jesus Christ, dude.
So, needless to say, they got away cheap. And
Where the
then
fuck were you supposed to stay? Koa?
You were supposed to stay in whatever rat hole would take $60 or less.
Like a campground or something.
Yeah, you were supposed to, what they expected you to do is to go online, like on Priceline.
Yeah.
And bid on, hotel rooms that, make bids on hotel rooms for
for a half an hour just until you get a $38 hotel room.
More or less, yes. That is true.
Okay, let me just ask this, and then you can finish your story.
Okay.
At what point do you say, just book me a room?
They wouldn't do it.
Why wouldn't they do it?
Well, because I'm going to tell you why, and there is a reason why.
Okay.
When they implemented their travel policy of $60 a night,
yeah,
they had a woman who worked in an administrative position.
Okay.
That she did book the rooms.
Yeah.
And for her to book a room at a place that was $60 or less, she had no idea what the quality of the place would be.
Right.
So one of our technicians who had to go out on a job site to do a startup of the equipment, that we manufactured.
Yeah.
He stayed at this hotel, and it was like a drug haven. It was like there was all kinds of creepy people, like all on the outside, and they were out there till all hours of the night, and this and that. And so he complained so bitterly about it that they implemented another part of that policy that everybody was responsible for booking their own rooms.
Fuck that.
So if you booked a room that was a shithole, that was on you.
Like you would know in fucking bullshit Louisiana.
Yeah, but that's the whole thing, is that you can't blame anybody else. You can't say that the administrative gal did it because she was the one who booked your room. You can only blame yourself because you're the one who booked it.
You stayed at this fucking place 3 years?
No, little over 2.
2 years?
Yeah.
You are a strong man, dude.
Well, when you got a house payment, you got to pay the house payment,
They could have taken my house before I'd put up with that kind of shit.
Right.
Fuck that.
Yep. But that's absolutely true.
God damn. Dude.
I know.
All right, continue.
So anyway, I got, and then on top of that,
yeah,
to leave the Chicago area, you had to go, and I know I told this story before, but you had to go through one toll.
Right.
And I had to pay $1, I think it was like $1.10.
Okay.
At the toll booth.
Yeah.
I didn't have an iPass with me.
Right.
In the rental car. Mm-hmm. And they questioned why it was $1.10 rather than 60 cents.
Dude.
Yep. This toll should have only been 60 cents. Why $1.10?
And you didn't answer back. Are you that concerned about 50 fucking cents?
Trust me, it took everything I had not to just lose my shit sometimes.
I would have fucking been I would have been fired, right? So fired, because I'd end up punching somebody. I couldn't put up with that kind of shit. That's fucking ridiculous.
Look at Jackal, Jew Magoo. But yeah, so needless to say, when I was able to finally tell them to take a hike,
yeah,
that was like such a relief.
Did you go out of that place respectfully, or did you go out in a blaze of glory?
I only gave them 3 days notice.
Yeah, but no real blaze.
No real blaze, but I didn't give them 2 weeks.
No, why would you?
I told them on Tuesday, and I was out by Friday.
Right. Yeah, because I remember that part. I remember I was like, why are you even fucking giving them any?
Yeah, well, you know what? I got all my affairs in order. I made notes. I put all my, where things stood and gave it to them and walked out the door.
The only reason you did any of that shit was because you had a good relationship with the sales team, right?
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah. Because otherwise, if it was just these fucking Indian fucks, you'd have been like, out of here.
Right. Well, one of my current coworkers,
yeah,
I had, relayed some of these stories during my tenure where I'm currently at.
Yeah.
And he told me this week that his daughter sold her house to some Indians.
Okay.
And right at the table when they're signing all the papers,
yeah,
he said all they did was sit there trying to renegotiate the whole thing. Making concessions more or less.
Right. Like what? You shouldn't have this kind of rate or whatever?
I don't know. He didn't really elaborate.
Yeah.
But he said instead of just going to the closing table and closing on a loan or whatever,
yeah,
at the at the title company,
yeah,
then they sat there and started trying to negotiate everything at the table.
Why would you even want to live that way?
Well, because they find that to be, because that's the way that they live. That's their culture. That's they find it. They think that they possess these magical negotiation skills.
Yeah.
And they think if they got one over on somebody that they're victorious.
So they take that as an act of pride.
It is. Absolutely.
So the fact that you argue, in theory, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, if you'd have reached in your pocket on that $1.10 toll and said, here's 50 cents, go fuck yourself, they would have taken that as a win?
Correct.
That's fucking ridiculous.
I'm telling you, that is exactly the thought process.
That's fucking ridiculous.
That they think they won. and they look at it as if they're smarter than everybody else and they out-negotiated you.
And that's why you were fucking always stood firm on every goddamn issue.
Exactly.
Because you were not letting these fucking cocksuckers win.
Exactly. That's absolutely true.
Jesus Christ.
When I went to work for them,
yeah,
I studied up on Indian culture.
Okay.
And I learned what they were about and why they conducted themselves this way or that way and how they thought and, whatever.
Was this before you started or once you got in there?
Once I got in there.
Like, what am I in?
Yeah, well, once I got in there, then I studied the beast.
Right.
To understand what I was dealing with.
Okay.
And once I understood the psychology of it,
yeah,
then I knew how to deal with them.
That is just, I just can't, I can't imagine that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I deal with some cheap people, doing the various stuff that I do.
Sure.
But, I can't even imagine somebody being fucking nickel stupid. I know other things about your business that, I'm not sharing, obviously, other than to say that these guys spend a lot of money fucking up.
Yeah, well, it's called penny wise and dollar foolish.
Yeah, and they're definitely dollar foolish because they spent. I mean, I'm just going to say it, and you can jump in. I'm not going to say what you did, but what you were doing. The product was between $100,000 and several $100,000 in most cases.
The final year that I spent there, I had sold $2 million gross in business.
Yeah, I mean, and the product itself is, I mean, for one of the main product that you guys sold was six figures.
Yes.
So they would spend six figures to do that wrong, to make that incorrect, but then would fuck with you about 50 cents on.
Yes, correct. Yes.
So fucking dumb. That would make me nuts.
Penny wise and dollar foolish.
Oh, that would make me crazy.
Yep.
Stupid.
Yep.
Wow.
So this goes back to, if you understand the nature of the beast or what you're dealing with, it doesn't necessarily make you agree with it. It just makes you tolerate it more because now you know what you're dealing with.
Right.
So I just expected it.
I could never just grow to accept that.
Well, it's not. I didn't accept it. It's just
you
that
had to on some level, you just accepted that they were going to be cunts about it.
Yeah, but I understood where they were coming from and tried to deflect it if I could.
Right.
The best I could.
Oh, you were a radio jockey.
Yeah, well, I am a radio jockey.
They did let you get away with some shit.
Sure.
Jockey.
Sure. Well, getting into a couple of quick stories here where the Indians are concerned.
All right.
Nathan from Kentucky had submitted this story a couple of weeks ago, but I never got to it.
Okay.
An Indian man beheads his wife and walks down the street with her head in his hands.
Okay.
A man casually walking along the street with a woman's blood-stained head in one hand and an axe in the other sounds like stuff out of a horror movie.
Right.
But it's what locals saw at an Indian city on Friday.
Jesus Christ.
Passers-by in the street of an Indian city were
shocked.
Perfect. To see the man walking with the chopped off head of his wife in his hand. In the other hand, he was holding an axe he allegedly used to behead his spouse. The suspect was identified as Ramchandra Shavan.
Yeah, guilty.
53, who had been working as a watchman for nearly 20 years in the city of Pune. Police told the Indian Express. It's called the Indian Express.
The Indian Express.
I guess it's a newspaper.
Nice.
Ramachandra allegedly suspected his wife, Sonabaya, of having an affair with his son-in-law.
Boy,
banging his mother-in-law out. According to neighbors' reports, the man repeatedly quarreled with the victim.
Okay.
The fatal incident took place on Friday morning. Ramchandra once again had a row with his wife, locked his daughter-in-law and two grandsons in the house, and then violently attacked Sonabaya.
Kevin Romano in the chat room. Did you see that?
I see that.
That's not too bad. We all lose our temper.
I'm feeling a little better now.
That's really funny.
Apparently, he chopped her head off with an axe, the police said, adding that when he started walking along the street, a local resident who saw him walking down the street with his wife's head in his hands eventually called the police, who arrested the suspect. Eventually. Ramchandra is currently in custody and being questioned by police.
Questioned?
Yes.
That head in his hand didn't give it away to where you could charge him?
No, I guess not. The bitch had it coming.
He had an axe in one hand, a fucking severed head in the other. You really have to question?
Right.
Good Lord.
What's all this then? The man did not have any mental disorders as investigated for now. He is taken into custody for murder and is being questioned further.
What will he get? An hour of fucking time?
Yeah.
They don't seem to care too much if these people kill their wives.
No, they don't, because women are second-class citizens. That's the whole other thing about India. You know.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, the rapes in India are just, you know, out of control over there.
Right.
And one of the reasons is that women in India, they're second-class citizens, But because India is finally moving into the 21st century where women are taking more of a role in government and, responsible positions and whatnot,
Right.
The old school Indian train of thought is, well, we're going to stop that. So they basically attack these women and rape them and try to keep them down and subservient,
Is it India or is it somewhere else where if a woman gets raped, then they get charged with fucking having sex with?
I think India does that.
That's the fucking most fucked up thing ever. How does that work?
Yeah. I don't
justify that.
Yeah. I don't understand the appeal of even going there.
Yeah, I don't get that at all. People go there on vacation?
Yeah, well, they go there because they think it's culturally interesting, I guess.
No thanks.
A gal that I knew who had grown sons.
Yeah.
Her son went to India on job assignment.
Okay.
And he stayed in a fenced off compound.
Okay.
Away from the locals, per se.
Right.
And was chauffeured to and from his place of business over there.
Okay.
Just so he didn't have to mix with the locals and the riffraff that goes on over there.
Wow. And was he happy about that? Or did
they insisted, his company insisted that's how he, did things.
They didn't want to risk his life.
Yeah, more or less, yes.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's some crazy shit.
It is. It is. And one more story of Indian tales.
All right.
Dead Indian man wakes up minutes before post-mortem.
All right.
A homeless Indian man who had been pronounced dead woke up on an autopsy table, shocking hospital staff who were about to begin post-mortem. Police in Mumbai said they found the man who had not been named, unconscious and suffering from multiple infections on Sunday morning and took him to the local hospital.
Oh, boy.
A doctor at the Lakmanya Tilak.
Yeah, that's where I go when I have problems.
Municipal General Hospital certified the man was dead.
Wow.
And sent the body for autopsy.
Okay.
As the autopsy was about to begin, the man awoke, triggering chaos, after which the doctors rushed him to the room.
Yeah.
Then they snatched the death certificate from the staff and tore it up. Hospital Dean Dr. Suleman said the police forced the error by asking doctors to examine the man on the road outside the hospital because they were busy with security arrangements for a visit by the Prime Minister Modi.
Wow.
They forced my doctor to examine the patient on the roadside as they wanted to rush back to the Prime Minister's security detail. Had the police allowed my staff to take the man indoors, they might have been able to do a better job. So they're blaming the security detail of Prime Minister Modi on the fact that they misdiagnosed this guy as being dead.
Sure wouldn't want to have a headache or something over there.
Right.
God knows what they'd do to you.
The man is being treated in the hospital for severe malnutrition, suspected alcoholism, and substance abuse.
Wow, all that.
See, okay, I got another whole thing to talk about where that's concerned, but anyway. I will. Let me finish the story.
All right.
He is delirious still, and we are trying to stabilize him. Let's hope the damage from his past can be tackled.
Wow. Okay.
the damage from his past.
Yeah.
Police officers called the suggestion police were responsible for the mix-up ridiculous and said that the hospital was trying to cover up their negligence.
What it sounds like to me.
Yeah. The police have finished an internal inquiry into the incident, and the report has been sent to the commissioner's office.
Wow.
Mumbai's police are regularly faced with unclaimed dead bodies, and media reports have suggested mortuaries are running out of space to hold the corpses.
Oh my goodness!
So doesn't that sound like a pleasant place to be?
Can't wait to visit myself.
It's just they're so overwhelmed with corpses and dead bodies that they just can't keep up with it.
Yeah, it's a busy business, that death,
I guess.
Jesus.
But that goes back to the whole. Again, this guy was homeless, drug dependent, alcoholic, sickly. Mm-hmm. It's just like, what do you do with these people?
Yeah.
I mean, again, nobody ever answers these questions. All these people who are so pro-drug, freedom to use drugs any way you want and whatnot.
Sure.
Nobody ever answers the question is, once you become a derelict, what do you do with them?
Well, you rehabilitate them, of course.
Because, there's that certain segment of our population that, drugs should be legalized, man. Drugs should be legalized. Mm-hmm. Well, again, I could have that opinion as well.
Sure.
But the thing is nobody ever answers the question, what do you do with these people now that they're derelict?
Yeah. No, there's no answer to it because everybody, the same people that want that, though, are the same people that are all for all these fucking free programs. You just fucking pay for it.
Look at that picture A.O. Rocks just put. That's fucking funny. That can't be a real picture, can it?
Hey, we got free tickets.
Holy cow.
Neeley. We got you a flight to Dallas.
Exactly. You're going to have to ride on top.
Climb up. Climb aboard, Neeley.
Oh, my God. Anyway, that's a whole nother discussion about the homeless. I mean, we talked about that last week.
Yep.
But, again, what do you do with them?
Well, the problem is that you don't do anything with them. You let them die. That's what you have to do. You just have to let them die, and then scrape up the carcass and put it somewhere.
Right. Somewhere.
Just grind it up and fucking feed it to the pigs or whatever.
Feed it to the pigs.
Don't give a fuck.
Right.
That's
inhumane, man.
Whatever. I mean, the reality is that if you want to give these people free programs, then you should fucking make them work.
Sure.
Maybe that's what you do with them. You fucking put them in a program, almost like somewhat of a prison-ish type of a program. Not prison, but, okay, we're going to give you medical treatment. We're going to get you back healthy again, but you're going to fucking pick up trash or paint places or, whatever needs done. Fill potholes. Get them. I never understand why we have, any major city, I get it in the small towns, but in the major cities, your Cleveland, Chicago, New York, whatever, there is enough work that we could fucking save big time money in budgets to not have staff paid for and just pay people that are on welfare.
Right.
Paying them anyway. What skill do you need to fill a pothole? Do you need a skill for that?
Well, again, there were proposals for what do you call work for keep or whatever they called it, and people were complaining. Not people, but politicians. Were complaining how that was cruel and inhumane
to work.
Yes.
But it's not cruel and inhumane for the regular person that has a job to have to go to work.
Well, because you had some kind of choosing in your profession. These people were poor and,
okay.
They don't have the choice and you're forcing them into slavery and,
You've been poor, right?
I don't know if I've been poor.
I mean, you've worked jobs for $30,000 or less.
Oh yeah. But again,
that would be considered poor, I think.
Yeah.
And when you were doing that, what did you do? Did you just sit around and wait for the fucking job that met your expectation, or did you do whatever the fuck you had to?
You do what you have to do.
Yeah. And if that's what you have to do to get your check, Why do we have to give them a free check? Why can't we say you have to, I mean, we all know that the process of looking for a job in order to get your fucking unemployment check is bullshit, and no one does it. They fill out 2 things online and they fucking say that they want $80,000 a year so that they could ride out their whole 99 weeks.
Sure.
So that part is bullshit. But why couldn't you say that to get your unemployment check, you have to show up at the unemployment office for 3 days?
Well, I think that's part of what they called workfare.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
Well, there's nothing wrong with that, but you get these liberal politicians who think that that's cruel and inhumane to make somebody, go to work and earn their welfare keep.
It's cruel and inhumane to you, who does go out and work and fucking gives away tax money, to fucking give that money to some lazy piece of shit.
Well, I know that, and you know that.
Yeah.
But that's what it was called, the workfare program.
Yeah, that's fucking, and look at Philly Pass, because welfare slaps don't want to work. Well, if you give them a choice not to work, of course they don't.
Right.
But to be honest, if somebody paid all my bills, I'd be a Dr. Phil watching motherfucker.
Sure.
I would be doing nothing but writing books right now. I wouldn't be doing my IT business and my fucking pinball business and, all the other shit that I do. I would be fucking sitting home watching TV. That's what I would do if somebody paid my bills.
Right.
And if the only thing I had to do was go online and apply for jobs, for 2 jobs a week, please, I'd apply for every director and president of a company job in this country.
Sure.
So that I know I wouldn't get it. And then fucking, and then if I did hit the jackpot with one of those jobs, hey, good for me. Now I'm making $200,000 a year. But this is ridiculous. The whole thing is ridiculous.
I agree. What's with Kevin Romano? What the fuck, Neeley?
Helping the poor. How dare you?
Sure. All right, let's play a couple songs. We'll come back. We'll get into some racist dating.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you know where this one's going.
I know where that one's going. I got plenty to say there.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
All right, well, it's better to die than to live without hope, so here's some Dockin' with Lost Behind the Wall exclusively here
On your classic metal show.